Today's project is making this cord hanger for this 50-foot extension cord for my welders. This is a 50-foot long 6'3" SOOW extension cord that I made for my welders and my plasma cutter. It's usually laying on the floor getting nasty or hanging on one of my welding carts, which is very annoying to move around. I just added a second 50 amp plug from my panel all the way across the shop. And now I want a place to hang this cord. I'm going to use these 3 pieces of scrap metal, and because it's been a while, we're going to do some ugly stick welding. These cuts would definitely be a lot cleaner if I used an angle grinder or a plasma cutter, but I haven't used my torch in a while and it's fun to break out every now and then. So I just got this piece flipped over here. I'm going to knock the dross off of it, and then we're going to clean the edges up a little bit. Switching over to a flap disc here to knock this rust off. I'm going to go back and forth between a hard rock and a flap disc just to clean these pieces up as I need to. I'm not looking to spend a whole lot of time on this or any kind of perfection, but I do want to clean it up a little bit and get any burrs or sharp corners or edges just rounded off and smoothed out. Again, back to the hard rock. This is the back side of that piece of diamond plate that I cut, and I'm just trying to clean up these rough torch cuts and get the dross off the back side of this piece of steel. Again, just jumping back to the flap disc to make it nice and smooth after that rough cut and grind with the hard rock. I'm just knocking the mill scale and whatever this coating is off of this piece of pipe. If you wanted to, you could bevel this. It is pretty thick wall, but for this particular project, I'm not going to waste the time on it. I'm going to use the old wire wheel of torture here to knock this rust and to try to clean some of this gray epoxy off of this piece of diamond plate. Let's get to stick welding. Now, if you're trying to learn welding, this is not going to be the video for you. I'm just out here in my shop building junk and having a good time. I'm using 7018 rods to weld this with. I think this is one of the easier rods to weld with. Just using the wire wheel here to knock the slag off the welds. This is when you really see how rough your welding was. This wire wheel is not going to get all the spatter off, so I switch over to the flap disc to knock down some of the spatter. And you know, it's easy for me to get carried away with this thing. I start going over some of the welds to try to clean them up a little bit. Alright, let's get this backside welded on now. I'm starting to find my groove. I'm kind of getting back into it a little bit. I've got the settings kind of worked out where I've been back and forth with them. So I don't end up with any undercut on the backside. I don't end up with as much spatter on the backside. I've got my settings figured out by now where I can weld much slower and take my time with it. Man, that was rough. A lot of undercut, a lot of rough restarts, but I think this thing still looks kind of cool, and it's just going to hold an extension cord for my welder. I need a 1/2 inch hole, so I'm just going to start with a 1/4, then finish up with a 1/2. I'm going to hang this with a 1/2 inch bolt. I'm going to hang this on my pallet racking and just use this washer and nut to stick on the back. I'm going to snug this up with a socket and a wrench, and we're going to be ready to hang our cord. Plug this thing in. Now that I've got this extra outlet added on at the other end of the shop, I can leave this cord plugged up and it won't be right at the door where you walk in. Man, I love it. It's just big enough to get this 50-foot long cord on here. Any day I get to spend in my shop making stuff is a great day. I'll see you on the next one.